On behalf of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village, I'm pleased to be able to welcome you to today's broadcast. It's part of the Foundation's special initiative called Planning for the Inevitable, and it involves a series of broadcasts. For example, we previously did broadcasts on estate planning and advance directives. Today, we're going to be talking about hospice and palliative care, two subjects of increasing interest to all of us as we age. And hopefully, today's broadcast will answer some of your questions. The Foundation is the local village charity that steps in to help residents with temporary financial assistance when they encounter hardship. More recently, it's expanded its focus to improving the welfare of the village. We are working with Memorial Care now to provide fall prevention classes for the entire village. And we are also renting medical alerts or emergency response devices for residents who are at risk of falling. Today's broadcast, as I indicated, will look at the topic of hospice and palliative care. It's part of a series, as I indicated, called Planning for the Inevitable. It's an effort to provide us with information so that we can make the appropriate decision before it's too late. With regard to palliative and hospice care, it's a subject that I personally know only too well because of my husband's increasing illness and disability with leukemia. I am Marcy Scheimold. I am the president of the foundation. With regard to hospice and palliative care, as I explained, it's my hope that we'll answer some of your questions. It's also my hope that we will be able to dispel some of the myths and misconceptions about palliative care and hospice care. I have with me today Dr. True McMahon, who I hope will be able to help us do those two things. Dr. McMahon graduated from the Baylor College of Medicine, and she is the director of outpatient hospice and palliative care, memorial care at Saddleback Hospital. Good morning, Dr. McMahon. I'm so happy you could join us today. In preparing to come today to do the broadcast, it brought back to me an encounter that I had recently with a neighbor. She approached me very upset, very emotional, because she was told that her husband was being transitioned to hospice care. And I think her reaction to hearing the term hospice care is much like what I remember how people reacted to a diagnosis of cancer some 20 years ago. What would you have told her to reassure her and what she should understand about hospice care?
Thank you for that question. There's a lot of misunderstanding about hospice. For me, hospice is about giving back control and about hope. It's not giving up, and in fact, it is a Medicare benefit that a lot of people aren't even aware that's available to them. And hospice actually engages care in the home or wherever the person may want to have the care, but it's opening a whole realm, a whole package that allows you to have care the way you want it. And it focuses your care much better on relieving pain, suffering, making you comfortable. It has social workers to help you with the financial and the paperwork aspects of life and illness and medical care. It has volunteers for if you need to have any other engaging activity to keep your life at least satisfied and joyful. It has a nurse to come to your house or your board and care or your facility, wherever you're at. Hospice is a whole package, and it's in multiple locations. It's not a place, it is a service. And so hospice is so misunderstood because even my colleagues, my specialists, feel that it's giving up, whereas I think it's giving more.
Okay, let's talk though about some of the misconceptions, because I think you hit that on the nail. One of the things that I hear from people is they think hospice care is only for people with cancer.
Hospice care can be given to anyone who faces any terminal illness. Let's face it, we're all going to die. We're all terminal in our own ways. But when you get that diagnosis, it might be cancer. It might be that your heart is getting more and more weak. So now you're at stage 4. Perhaps the kidneys are getting weaker. Perhaps you have ALS or a number of incurable diseases that have progressed and have now become the advanced stages. So therefore, hospice allows you to focus the care on symptom management and quality of life rather than what other medical treatments, what other hospitalizations, what other procedures. It just refocuses on what's important to you. If you knew and had any kind of warning that the time is coming close and that you need to start planning for your future.
Okay, related to that, one of the other things, given what you're telling me, that is for people who sense that their terminal illness may be coming to an end. Some people believe that hospice care is only for people a few days before they pass away.
And that is the most disheartening misconception.
Okay.
Because studies have even been shown that once you start hospice care, not only does it extend quality of life, it has extended quantity of life. So if you start hospice care early, you'll avoid a lot of unnecessary risky procedures, medication that you no longer need with their inherent side effects and load on your kidneys or liver, and you might find that you feel better and live happier longer.
Okay, related to that, I've heard another, what I think is a misconception, but I'm sure you'll explain it to me, is that hospice care is limited to 6 months.
Well, it is definitely a Medicare criteria for admission. Once we find that you have an illness, as physicians who qualify you, we say during the evaluation that your prognostic calculator says you probably have 6 months, maybe more, maybe less. We don't know, but we think it's about 6 months. We'll qualify you for hospice, and then the care begins. And some of my patients have definitely been on hospice longer than 6 months, some for years, but they still show some quality, some realm of decline, so that Medicare will continue to recertify that hospice care.
So they're not kicked off at the end of 6 months?
Not unless the patient condition, your loved one's condition, stabilizes to the point where there is no management of symptoms. You have no signs of decline and you're actively out there engaging life. You beat that stage 5 kidney disease. You've gotten your heart remodeled so that your heart failure has now gotten to a better state and you're more able to get out and enjoy life. You may be graduated from hospice.
I love that. We should have a special graduation.
Yes.
You talked about treatment, not having unnecessary procedures. The person doesn't go cold turkey. Do they receive any treatment during hospice?
And that's where palliative care comes in. You can have palliative care as a part of hospice, and you can have palliative care years before hospice. In fact, I really urge everyone listening to consider palliative care consultation by your primary doctor or your cardiologist or your cancer doctor or your kidney doctor the minute you get the diagnosis that this is an advanced illness, this is a serious disease. You're going to require a lot of navigation of medication with some benefits. A family needs to help you with certain things. Once it becomes complicated, you should get into a palliative care service. My practice with the home-based palliative care aims to keep you in the home, avoiding unnecessary hospitalization and medication side effects. You get a nurse to come into the home, the social worker comes into the home, you get someone to look at how life is in your microcosm and try to keep you as stable as possible while you're dealing with this very severe advanced illness that you may have just gotten the diagnosis for.
Okay, you mentioned briefly just now family, and one of the other misconceptions that I hear is that once somebody goes into hospice care, that the family is not as actively involved.
Actually, we arm the family with so much armamentarium that they can be as involved as possible, and we love it when families involved because in most situations, family is needed to help with custodial care and just life ADLs, activities of daily living. Nurses can come and help with the nursing care. A bath aide in the hospice service can come and do baths every week, maybe even 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the need. Other services can come in and assist, but family is very important. They're probably the most important part of your care. If you don't have family, then we have to work with volunteers and the state and whatever resources we have to help you deal with this illness so you're not alone.
Okay, and that was my other question. What if somebody is alone? Are they still eligible for hospice care? Say they don't want to go to a hospital. Can they do it in their home?
Absolutely. Yes, we'll have a social worker working and all the wonderful volunteer organizations that we can pull in to help. We have a network of resources to help with those who don't have family members nearby. They can designate a friend, a neighbor to be their durable power of attorney. That's totally doable.
Okay, what if somebody says, all right, I'm ready for hospice care, I understand I have this illness. They're into it for about 2 weeks and they say, this is not for me. I want to opt out. Can somebody opt out of hospice care?
That's the beauty of hospice. You're in control. You can opt out. You can revoke at any time. You can change your mind. You can go back and forth.
Okay, but say you opt out and it wasn't the smartest decision to make in the world, and you realize 3 more weeks in, you want to opt back in. Can you come back in?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know for sure, but I think Medicare frowns on doing that too frequently.
Yeah, I would think so. Talking about Medicare, one of the other myths or misconceptions that I hear is that hospice care is expensive, that you're doing it in your home. So it may be more than some people can handle. Is that a misconception?
It is. It's totally provided by Medicare. 100% of the nursing visit, the social worker, the chaplain, the volunteers, the bath aide, all of that is 100% covered in that package. And if you qualify for Medicare or if you have insurance that allows you to have a hospice service, completely covered. Now, if you need help with activities of daily living, a personal assistant in the home, that's where families come in. That's where the social worker may have to help you get some kind of relief if you don't have the financial resources to have the custodial part of the care.
Okay. You talked about hospice care in two ways, hospital and outpatient. Is that a choice that the patient has?
Yes, it is. To some degree, you have to actually qualify for hospice care in the hospital, and a physician such as an intensive care doctor, even the emergency room doctor or your primary doctor, they can say you're too unstable to go home, your symptoms are way too difficult, and possibly your your death may come sooner if we send you home, so let's stabilize you in the hospital. That's called general inpatient hospice care, so that does exist.
Okay, we alluded to this subject. Are there general eligibility guidelines for who qualifies for hospice care?
Yes.
And what are they, doctor?
Pretty extensive.
Well, let's see if we can have the abbreviated version.
A terminal illness that has a stage 4 when it's cancer, stage 5 when it's kidney. Each disease entity has a different criteria. That's why I say it's extensive. But most hospice physicians have years of training and continuing medical education to actually understand, because even Medicare will change the requirement at times and trick us, so we have to make sure that we are following rules and regulations.
Okay, we've been talking in general terms now about hospice and a little bit about palliative care. Can you, from your experience, can you tell the audience about a personal case where a referral to hospice care made a difference for the patient and the family? A case that you might have told to my neighbor who was so fearful when she got this news that would have made her more comfortable about the transition.
So oftentimes patients are in palliative service because they're still going through chemo. The cancer will progress at times if they're not cured. If they're cured, we graduate them off of palliative care as well. But if they actually advance and the chemo's not working, then the oncologist will say, it's time for hospice. That person, and that's been several of my cancer patients, has suddenly opened up pockets of time where they're not going to the hospital, they're not going to oncology, radiation, they're not doing anything but spending time with their family, with their hobbies, and just having a hospice doctor or nurse come into the house regularly to check on them and to manage their symptoms at home. So this person who was so focused and anxious and just trying to schedule everything and just totally focused on the cure, when there is no longer cure, actually the anxiety goes down. There's a peace that can come about from knowing, okay, now I've got to get my affairs in order. I've got to focus on what's really important to me. And I've had multiple patients, young patients, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, who finally said, okay, that's enough. I want to make it to my son's wedding. Let's stop all this craziness. Let's just focus on getting me more comfortable, more stronger, so I can get to my son's wedding, and things like that. So yeah, that's happened quite frequently.
Okay, when we talked about outpatient hospice care, what special considerations does a patient have to consider whether that's an appropriate option for them?
I think that not having family nearby is a special consideration. Not having your adorable power of attorney in place, that's a special consideration. Because once you choose hospice, you're trying to choose quality of life where you're at and not have to be transferred to the hospital, not have to be doing things according to what doctors want and recommendations of different therapies. Now you have to make these decisions yourself, and you have to get some help, because somewhere along this journey, you might not be able to make decisions. So someone has to make the decisions for you and help you Maybe you'll forget. Maybe you have a disease that's metastasized to the brain and you're functioning now, but you know in the future you won't be able to. So if you choose hospice, you have to go ahead and start thinking ahead and getting who can take care of you when you can't take care of yourself.
Does your outpatient service help patients with that?
Absolutely. We're great at that. That's what we do all the time.
And what does that involve? Do you put them in touch with an attorney? Do you help them with the durable power of attorney?
We have all the resources in place for all of that.
And for those without families, do you have that resource as well?
We will reach out to the community, whatever disease that you may have, there's resources, there are foundations, there's groups, alliances that can help. So we will help you with all that.
Okay. For those people who opt for hospice care in the hospital, what does that involve? Is that just on a doctor's orders because they're unstable?
Correct. Hospitals are very hard to find room for even non-hospice patients.
Yes,
so
that's true.
For hospice patients, you have to qualify.
And in the service that you're involved with, the outpatient service through Saddleback and Memorial Care, how many patients are you currently involved with?
Both my palliative and hospice practice, we have close to 300 patients right now.
Is there an outreach that you do? I mean, how do people learn about palliative and hospice care?
Doing this right now, number one. Number two is that we have the annual health fair that Memorial takes part of, and the Laguna Woods health fair that happens every year as well. So many opportunities. We have a website as well. Your primary doctor should really know.
Okay, we have alluded to, you have alluded to the difference between palliative and hospice. Can you explain to the audience once more so that they understand the difference?
Absolutely. It is so hard even for a physician to know the difference, but there's a service difference. So you have hospice, which serves terminal illnesses, has a qualifying 6-month timing criteria. The palliative, there's no qualification of time. There's just a consult that is requested by your primary doctor or your oncologist or your kidney doctor. Any physician can request, even an emergency room physician, urgent care physician. You need a palliative clinician, a specialist, to help you figure out what you want to do, how to manage this illness, and all that goes with it. So the palliative is a consultative service. Hospice is a full package. The doctor comes to the house, does everything. The palliative service, you're a consult. So you still have your primary doctor, you still have your oncologist, you still have all those other specialists. We work together to continue to care for you until you pass over into hospice if you'd like, or some people pass on or graduate from palliative.
I like the graduation part.
Yes.
I'm an optimist.
Yes.
Dr. McMahon, is there anything else you would like to tell the audience about hospice and palliative care that I haven't asked you about?
Well, I find it disconcerting that New York Times published an article that said that 88% of physician patients have an advanced care plan, but only 37% of non-physician patients have an advanced care plan. Huge gap here. And then 75% of physicians actually die at home where they want to, and 80% of non-physician patients die in hospitals and nursing homes, whereas 80% of them would rather die at home.
So by opting or finding out more about hospice and initially palliative and then hospice care, people are given, I guess, the option to die at home, which I can understand most people would prefer. In ending our discussion today, Doctor, what is the one or the most important thing that you want the audience to remember?
Hospice is not giving up. It's giving hope and it's giving you peace, and you'll have this whole service to take care of you and to help you so that you'll meet the challenges as you walk the last few days, years, month of your life. You'll have palliative and hospice to help you, so you're not alone.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. McMahon. I really appreciate your time today. And if anybody has any questions, they can certainly contact the foundation, and I will make sure that those inquiries are forwarded to Dr. McMahon. Have a terrific day. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.